Good day, this is Frontline News. I'm Abigail Smythe. Coming up in the newscast, the two men held in connection with the shooting at the Spartan Health Club have been charged. UWI professor describes Jamaica's justice system as highly dysfunctional. Police increased presence in August town. In the region, Trinidad police detained 4 persons allegedly plotting to cause terror during the carnival celebrations. And further afield, U.S. President addresses the departure of his former staff secretary. Now for the details. In a Frontline News follow-up, the two men who were held in connection with the recent shooting at the Spartan Health Club have been charged. They are 26-year-old Rashan Pasley of 213 Spanish Town Road and 27-year-old Kevin Robinson of 219 Spanish Town Road. Reports are that on February 2, both men shot reputed gang leader Uriel James, who was sitting in his car at the parking lot of the gym. They were subsequently subdued by armed security guards from King Alarm. They have been charged with shooting with intent, wounding with intent, illegal possession of a firearm, and illegal possession of ammunition. They will face the court on February 16. Pasley, also known as Tino, was held with a Ruger 9mm pistol with the serial number erased, while Robinson had a Glock 19 pistol. Frontline News understands that Robinson, also known as Leon, is being investigated for the murder of woman constable Crystal Thomas of the Denhamtown Police Station in July 2015. Woman Constable Thomas was reportedly traveling on a bus when armed men began robbing passengers. She was killed after the gunmen realized that she was a police woman. Jamaica has a highly dysfunctional justice system that is in desperate need of reform. This is the view of Alcon Professor of Caribbean Sustainable Development in the Institute for Sustainable Development at the University of the West Indies, Professor Anthony Clayton. Codian Barrett has more in this report.
With the recent flare-up in violence across Jamaica and the bid to tackle the crime problem, the man with the crime plan, Professor Anthony Clayton, noted that the inefficient justice system plays a role in the rise in crimes. In an interview with JNN News at the University of the West Indies Mona Research Day on Friday, Professor Clayton highlighted some of the deficiencies.
We've got homicide trials going on for 10 years and longer, 12 years in some cases. Our justice system is so backed up, we've got people sitting in police remand cells who've not even had their day in court for over 2 years. Now, our justice system is in desperate need of reform. You have to be able to deliver justice to the people in a reasonably swift and effective and timely and economical manner.
He noted that fixing the justice system is one of the first steps to be taken if Jamaica is to fully tackle crime.
We need to have a very strong set of administration of our justice system so that these reforms can be driven through. There's a couple of really quite significant problems which we'd have to fix. One is that we have to put an end to the culture of adjournment. We should have no more than 1 or at most 2 adjournments permitted per trial, and those should only be for very clearly legitimate reasons. Second, we have to look at the whole issue of client-attorney privilege.
Professor Clayton also stated that an upgrade in technology is needed in the justice system. Codian Barrett, Frontline News.
The Minister of Local Government, Desmond Mackenzie, says the government is concerned about the frequent fires across the island. This after tragedy struck on Job Lane in Spanish Town, St. Catherine Thursday morning, where a 7-year-old girl died in a house fire. Kimberly Wright tells us more.
The remains of grade 1 student at Friendship Primary School, Amelia Williams, were found during cooling down operations after the fire on Thursday. Now, the Minister of Local Government, Desmond Mackenzie, is calling on all citizens to be more careful with fire.
If we notice, 80% of the fires that have occurred in homes which are not so well to do. So it tells you that there is a need for public education.
He explained that within the last 6 weeks, there have been 4 cases of fatal fires involving children in the country.
And whilst there is a shortage of firefighting equipment, a lot of what have taken place cannot be attributed to tardiness on the part of the firefighters.
Mr. Mackenzie is urging Jamaicans to practice fire safety in their homes.
There has to be a greater appreciation and understanding that we must do our best to ensure that we mitigate as best as we can in creating fires in our household.
He is also encouraging everyone to become more knowledgeable of fire safety precautions, especially as they relate to children. Kimberly Wright, Frontline News.
Meanwhile, the local government minister Desmond Mackenzie is arguing that the people must see the good in local government. He spoke about the municipal corporation's decision to suspend Michael Troop from sittings of the local authority for 3 months for bringing the municipal body into disrepute.
This minister will never support any actions by any elected representative that brings their position into disrepute whatsoever. They will never have the support and backing of this minister and this government, regardless of which political party they're from.
He also made recommendations on how the local government can be improved.
And we have to raise the barrier, we have to raise the standard of representation that we offer. We must not only talk about it, but it must be seen out there. We must demonstrate that local government is moving in a different direction.
Many people have a fear of growing old, but if the necessary preparations are made, then one can comfortably allow nature to take its course. Kimberly Wright has that story.
Speaking with Frontline News at the University of the West Indies Research Day 2018, leading authority on aging and advocate for the elderly, Professor Denise Eldemire-Shiro, said preparation for aging is important. She placed emphasis on financial preparation.
There are vulnerabilities, and interestingly, the most significant vulnerability is in fact economic, but then you also have control over that because you could contribute to a pension and you could make those arrangements. Think about it, at your age, just saving $500 a week, and you would have 40 years to save that. So you would have, and if you put it into a savings account that you don't touch.
And contrary to popular belief, she indicated that Jamaica has a low rate of mental health issues among the elderly.
Only 6% of the Jamaican population, 6, has dementia. Wow. Now, and if you look at it, obviously, like, and 60 to 70 is going to be 2 to 3%, because by the time you get to 80, it is 30%. Everybody's afraid of Alzheimer's, and I think it's because everybody thinks all dementia is Alzheimer's. Suppose I tell you that half of dementia is vascular and is due to high blood pressure, and therefore you have some control.
Professor Eldemire-Shiro also noted that while extensive research is being done in Jamaica, there is room for more. Kimberly Wright, Frontline News.
And back on the crime scene, there was more violence in Clarendon on Thursday. Goshen District was the scene of the shooting death of 32-year-old Lloyd Vassell, otherwise known as Benji of Comfort District in the parish. It had been reported that the victim was driving a motorcycle registered with Pillion 23-year-old Bradley Donald in Goshen District when unknown assailants in a white car opened fire at them. Vassell was shot several times, causing the motorcycle to overturn, throwing Donald to the ground. Donald, however, ran. Vassell was rushed to the Mapen Hospital where he was pronounced dead. When police arrived on the scene, 80 9mm casings and 3 5.56 casings were recovered. Meanwhile, over in Craigtown, Maypen, a man was also murdered. Dead is 40-year-old Jackson Walker, otherwise called Judas. The incident happened around 7 a.m. along the Craigtown Road. The security forces have increased their presence in Augusttown, St. Andrew in the wake of Thursday's quadruple shooting. One of the victims died. He has been identified as 26-year-old Rusheen Ellis. Akoya Radimari tells us more.
Thursday's attack was the latest in a series of violent incidents shattering peace efforts in Augusttown, which had led to no reported murders in the community in 2016. The 4 persons, including a Jamaica college student, were shot on Augusttown Road. Member of Parliament for the area, Favour Williams, says the shooting occurred while officials were attending a meeting in the community.
While I was in Augusttown meeting with the community, Minister Chuck was there. We had some PMI persons. We had a visitor from the UK who's come to talk with the community about crime fighting strategies. While we were in the middle of that meeting, we got a report that there was a shooting close by, and obviously when we got to the location, police were there and the area was cordoned off.
Mrs. Williams says she is trying to ascertain the cause of the flare-up in violence.
So there are many theories, but none that I can say definitively just yet. I mean, when you talk to people in the community, they have their sense of what has been happening, but I've heard a lot of different versions from a lot of different people. So, I don't know which one is the truth just yet. I take the information that I get, and I'll try to sift through it, see how many different people say the same thing. But at this moment, there isn't a central theme just yet as to what is causing this flare-up, or when it's going to end.
Meanwhile, the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, Communications Manager Cecil Toms says the bus company has had to temporarily discontinue service to Augusttown.
Yes, I can confirm that we suspended services yesterday afternoon arising from the shooting incident in Augusttown. Of course, this is out of an abundance of caution. You wouldn't want to be traveling on a JUTC bus and suddenly you hear gunshots. So we'll suspend service pending the investigations by the police and until they inform us, of course, whether it is safe to resume operations.
Akoya Radimari, Frontline News.
Frontline News now understands that the 2-year-old girl found on Tuesday beside her mother's body in Ali Clarendon is now with a relative and out of state care. Reports are that the child, who was not harmed, was discovered clinging to the body of her mother, 32-year-old Natoya Ricketts, who was shot and killed. Ms. Ricketts' body was found in bushes. Children's advocate Diane Gordon-Harrison provided an update.
We have confirmed that the child is okay, physically anyway, and is in fact in the safe custody of a relative, a close relative at this time.
Mrs. Gordon-Harrison also shared her views on the situation.
The interest, of course, is very much warranted because it's one of the cases that really makes you sit up in your chair, just that how sad and sordid the whole thing is.
Ms. Ricketts' mother was also shot and killed at her home 2 weeks ago. And tension and frustration are lingering as uncertainty escalates about the status of several detainees under the state of emergency in St. James, as well as those who were transferred to Kingston. Shauna Gay Warren has that story.
The Cornwall Bar Association has confirmed that 50 persons who were transferred on Thursday from the Freeport Police Station in St. James to the Horizon Adult Remand Center in Kingston because of lack of space were sent back to the Freeport Station. President of the association, Stacey Ann Young, said the detainees were sent back amid reports of lack of space at Horizon. The situation caused the relatives of the detainees to gather at the Freeport station as the men were not released. Some relatives complained about the situation.
I had 2 sons around there. They picked them up for no reason at all. They have their animal a bush. They have them work to go. If tomorrow morning they don't have a job, it's only because of this. And we don't know, we're not getting no answer from nobody. From Saturday night, them pick them up.
One of the men who was detained described conditions at the detention center.
Terrible condition. The youths are in terrible condition around there. We eat, they said that they're giving us breakfast. We get breakfast 1 o'clock in the evening. That's breakfast, and when they open the bucket, they're giving us theater from number 1 cell. By the time we reach down at number 30, it's cold. They're just giving us 1 slice of bread and some sugar and water and things like that.
The state of public emergency was declared in St. James on January 18. Shauna Gay Warren, Frontline News.
And the Cornwall Bar Association wants a status update report on 18 detainees that were taken into custody during the state of emergency in St. James. It says the main focus is on those detainees held since Saturday. President of the association, Stacey Young, says an attorney will be sent to the Freeport lockup to find out from senior officers whether the men will be released or charged. Ms. Young explained that the men can be legally detained for 7 days. However, another 10 days can be added if the police indicate that they have strong suspicion that the detainees were involved in criminal activities and may be charged. Meanwhile, the association said it will be investigating allegations that the police have been using pepper spray on detainees. Ms. Young explained that complaints about meals have also been lodged with the association. She said while speaking with a policeman some minutes to 10 o'clock Thursday night, he informed her that he was in the process of serving lunch to the detainees. All motorcycle and car shows in St. Elizabeth have been banned. The ban took effect on February 1 and will be in place for 6 months. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police Division, Superintendent Catherine Lord, said during the ban, the police will conduct an education program to sensitize owners of motorcycles and cars of the need to have their vehicles licensed and insured. Superintendent Lord said most of the shows attract persons with unlicensed and uninsured vehicles. And on that note, we take our first break. When we return,